friends. Today we are chatting about this mini Clover iron and how I use this a ton in my felt flower making. Stick around because we're going to be talking about version 1, but I've also got the Clover Iron Mini version 2 that we are going to open up and go through everything that's included. Alright, so first things first, I've got my Clover Mini Iron. I've already turned it on. It has some pretty basic settings. You've got high, low, and off. High temperature is about 220 degrees, low is about 140 degrees. For felt, I like to be in the high setting, makes me happy. So it comes with this little iron tip that is super cute and adorable and looks like a mini iron. And this little stand that works really, really great for holding it up so that it's never touching your work surface and burning and hurting your, pretty little tabletop. As far as safety, make sure you've got your... Here I am talking about safety and I grabbed the dang thing and it's hot. Safety tip number 1, never pick up by the metal stand because it's hot. Because this is all conducting heat. Use your base. Sorry, that was really funny. Use your base to hold your iron. Make sure that you have very good length for your cord. Make sure that you've got no kids, dogs running around. Nothing's gonna yank that stuff off. Another good asset is I have a safety video on how to use the flower soldering iron. Go check that out. It's got a lot of similar safety tips. It's basically almost the same sort of tool. Differences between this tool and the soldering iron is this one's lighter in your hand, which helps because you don't feel like you really have to put a lot more pressure. Bad things is the soldering iron has so many more interchangeable tips where this one is just like the iron tip. Other good thing, this thing's significantly cheaper. You're lucky if you find one for around $80 to $100 on the soldering iron plus. And then these price points, I know the mini iron is like $30, so I would imagine this is like $15, $20. So your price point to entry on this guy is way lower than the soldering iron. Both do similar things, but are just a little bit different. So anyways, we have this one set to high, whereas the soldering iron has a dial, a temperature dial, where you can literally really fine tune what temperature you want. This, you got 2 options, high or low. So how are you gonna use this tool? I like to grab my handy foam mat. This is actually a pretty dense foam right here. It's kind of yucky because I use it a lot, but this works really, really well. So that way when you're pushing into your felt, it gives a little bit so that the felt will actually like take the kind of like the scoring mark much better. Whereas like if this, it's got nowhere to go, so it's gonna stay more flat. Another thing I did on all my felt here is I stiffened all of it with my handy dandy Mega Hold hairspray. This is unscented. I really like this brand and type because it's like $2 at Walmart. You could also use fabric stiffener, which works great too. The only problem is like fabric stiffener for like a spray bottle like this. Well, this is aerosol, so it's probably the same amount of volume. It's in a squirt bottle, and so the application of it is not as great, but it's like 12 bucks for the jar versus like $2. This one is unscented, so do you like this? So I've already sprayed all of this stuff. Catch some of my other videos on shaping petals to get more details on this, if you want more on there. But we're just gonna move past that so that this video is not 7 years long. Okay, so I've got my foam pad, and I've already sprayed these petals with that, and they've already dried. So you can tell there's like a soft side and then there's a rough side. The soft side is, the regular felt, and then this top part that's rough is the part I sprayed. Thing to keep in mind that's different than the soldering iron is this tip is much thicker, so your lines aren't gonna be nice and delicate like the soldering iron, so you're gonna get much thicker lines. So while this is a cheaper starting point and works great still, it's not gonna be as good as the soldering iron. Just wanna keep that in mind that this is not like a replacement tool, it's more of a different option. Okay, so we're just gonna hold our edge here, and I'm holding this on the side and just going straight down, and then I'm kind of curling it. So already off the bat, just by doing those 2 lines, you can kind of see this flower petal like shape up. It's already curling on its own without having to do anything extra there. If you don't want that to happen, it's all in the pressure of how much downward pressure you're putting on here. So like I could go super light here, and maybe I'll show you on a different one. And you're not gonna get such a defined line, but it's also not gonna curl as much. Or I can put a lot of pressure, and then it's gonna really start curling in on itself. So now you have a curled petal as well as the defining lines. So that's kind of like the flower veins in there as well. This is totally just like making your flowers one step better. You know, you could have a basic flower coming off of or basic petal coming off your flower, or you can have something like this and everyone's gonna be like, ooh and on over this. It does take extra time to process all of your petals this way, but it adds so much. So for this specific flower, I want it to not just stand straight up, so I'm gonna flip it over on its back and use the iron and just kind of go backwards like that. And then now we have this fun backwards curl on our petal, which I really, really like. And if you don't like so much of the curl, it's an iron too, so you can kind of just really manipulate it how you want it, your flower to land. And because we sprayed our petal with that hairspray or stiffening spray, whatever you're using, this is gonna hold now. It's gonna stay into this shape without flopping. So if you were not to use hairspray and you put your flowers out into just like, oh, they're just on your counter, a really hot day comes by and they just start like, you're gonna lose some shape, or if you know they accidentally get wet or humid, they're gonna start losing their shape, where at least the hairspray will lock in that hold a little bit better. So here's a leaf shape that I did as well, and it's just the same thing. So this one I'm gonna go a little bit lighter, so we're not getting any curling action. I put very little pressure, but from that you can see that like beautiful line on that leaf, and then you can just kind of keep doing the same thing where you're adding, and you can, you know, put some little curves and just add some dimension to these. So this is really gonna elevate your leaves to the next level, because doesn't that look so much better having those veins? They're very subtle, but when they're sitting there on as a whole bouquet, it's just like chef's kiss, right? I've got some circles here that I already stiffened because I wanted to show you this ball attachment. So this ball attachment only works on the big one. So let's go ahead and transition to this big boy. I'm gonna turn him off because we're done. Okay, so I am super excited to get my hands on this guy. I loved my Clover iron here, and so I was like, oh, there's a bigger, better one. So of course you have to try all of them to make sure you get all of the great features. And this one comes with all the accessories. So the shaft, I don't know, is a little bit wider. So all of these attachments fit in there, where this little guy is much skinnier and smaller, and none of these fit in there. So make sure you get the version 2 if you want to make all the attachments work. This one's about $30. So again, the price point on this is gonna be very affordable to get started with. Oh goodness. Okay, so right off the bat, their little stand has these little rubber feet on it, which like already you're like, it's not moving on my table. And I'm already like, oh my gosh, this is much better. I'm like, what is this one? Oh, this one has it too, but it's not, for some reason, it's not even noticeable. And this one's like much more secure. So this one is definitely heavier than this one. Okay, so this is actually your on and off switch on the side, on the cord. I'm curious to see how far down it goes. And it only spins in one direction, which is kind of fun and weird. And on this one, you have high, medium, and low. So high temperature is, 560 degrees. Wowzers. The middle is 390 degrees and the low is 220 degrees. So this low is this one's high. When we're using it today, I definitely want to be on the low setting for felt. 590 degrees seems a bit ridiculous, which makes sense why they have this heat shield here. If it's getting up to almost 600 degrees, like, you definitely need a shield to protect yourself and anything around it. So, whew. All right, so I'm gonna turn this on with a little switch here, just so it starts getting hot. I do appreciate it's got an indicator light, so you definitely know. All right, wattage. Let's see if we can find the wattage. It is 40 watts, not bad. So while this is heating up, I do wanna point out that this iron here is very flat all the way around, and this iron has like a curve, like a bevel or an angle on it. So I could see you getting a much sharper line using this edge than this edge, because it's this one's a solid thick line and this one is beveled, so you could get, the way you hold it as an angle, you could very easily get a nice clean line on that. Get back down there, buddy. So as far as our accessories here, we can open this. Ooh. Okay, so it comes with this skinnier one, but keep in mind this one is flat here too. So as far as doing any side work, you're gonna have like a really thick line here. You have a larger iron, this ball tip, which now I have two of them. And this is kind of like an X-Acto knife, but it is a hot knife. So I'm curious if we can actually cut some felt with this. I kind of definitely want to try. I might need to crank the temperature up to high to do it, but worth a try. All right, so I'm gonna put that aside, and then it comes with a tool to change your tips. If you're going to change it while it's hot, which I recommend you don't, because you definitely want to cool it. You don't want any accidents. If you do, which I probably will today, make sure you have a pan that you're dropping your hot tips in, so that way they're not gonna roll off, burn anything, harm anything. So just have something like this ready to go if you are going to change your hot tips. So I'm gonna grab another petal and see if we can get maybe like a sharper line here. Just testing it. What I like to do is I like to put it on my matte foam and then touch it afterwards with my finger. Is it hot? Is it not hot? I kind of don't feel like it's hot enough, but I'm gonna try it anyways. And we're just gonna throw a line in. Yeah, it's definitely not hot enough. All right, so I'm testing it again. It does feel like it's getting warmer, but I think I might wanna try going up to medium. I'm gonna try one more line real quick. I'm also getting a little impatient. I'm gonna just kick it up to medium and see what happens. All right, so it's been a minute or so and I'm impatient, so I wanna keep testing it. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on there again. It's definitely hotter. I like that temperature better. Okay, so let's try this again. I do actually like this guard because it's giving me more room to hold it as well, which is kind of nice. All right, so we're gonna go through. Okay, yeah, that is definitely working way better. And I'm gonna say this one's actually a little bit harder to control. You're gonna wanna like practice with this one a little bit better. I am not gonna lie, I'm struggling a little bit. But it has much finer lines, which is really nice. I think the important thing is to just go slow. Don't be impatient like me half the time. But I was able to put a lot more lines in here. Let's just show you the difference. They're much more like an actual line, and these ones are more like divots or valleys. I mean, both are beautiful and they both work. So I mean, it's totally not a difference or big deal here, but just keep in mind, they are 100%, this iron to that iron is different. I'm gonna go ahead and push the back up too, curl it. And if you notice the way I curled it too, again, is I'm gonna do it on a different, but I'm literally taking it, going about wherever you want to start that curl, and then folding it over it and pulling it, and that's just creating a beautiful curl. The more tighter and more pressure that you're gonna pull it is gonna make a more curled curl, more dramatic curl. Or if you're just kind of doing it more looser like this, it's gonna go less curl. I mean, I already did this one, so it's kind of hard to tell. But you kind of have to play with where your iron is, how much pressure, how much downward force that you're yanking on it, and that's going to play into fact what kind of curl you're gonna get. That was really cool. I really like this version. I like them both, to be honest. Both of them are really, really solid. All right, let's go ahead and change this tip now to the ball tip. All right, so I'm gonna let this heat up for a second and kind of just go over these other tips a little bit. So I'm not gonna put in every single tip today. I think it'd be important for you to explore and play with them. And I haven't really played with like this is just a bigger iron. There's nothing crazy different it's gonna do. I think you're just gonna have less control if you're trying to make lines. This one I think I'm gonna play around with and see if I can come up with something, and then if I do find something cool with it, I will definitely do a follow-up video with that one. I have the ball in here, and then I definitely want to finish this video off today with the hot knife and see if we can cut some felt and get a little crazy. The ball tip has been heated up. I just kind of tested it. I have a round circle here because I thought that would be the easiest way to demonstrate it. I have also stiffened the felt on this one too, and we're still at medium, and I'm just, let's see here. I'm gonna go gently around. This is technically, it is a smaller ball than I would like to use, but I am literally just rotating it around to make the ball and then just going straight down. And this is why I really, really need this foam pad, because I'm literally going below the foam pad here. So that's kind of what it did here, which is really, really great. I mean, that's kind of what we'd want to see it. If you wanted it more ruffled, you could kind of like, or clean up the sides. I don't know, it's not really ruffling like I would like to, but as far as making a little scooped shape, it did a great job. Let's try the smaller. This would be more of like an appropriate size for this one. So the soldering iron is gonna have more tips that are gonna be more like, you could have one that's large, but you can always make it work with what you got. Right down, and then that makes a beautiful little cupped shape for a petal. I think the last thing I want to do is let's go crazy and see if we can cut some felt with this hot knife and kind of see what happens. But right now, let me know in the comments if you like this tool, if you have this tool, if you have any questions about this tool. I'd be more than happy to explore it a little bit deeper and figure it out for you. Okay, so I've got the hot knife plugged in and is on high, and real quick, if you want to go snag these tools, link below in my description. Definitely helps the channel, but go snag them. So I've got two pieces of felt here. I've got a 100% wool piece and then wool blend felt. Let's just see what happens here. I don't know. I'm honestly like looking at this thing and knowing that this is a X-Acto knife that's literally like hot is kind of terrifying. Like for that purpose, like I don't know if I'm ever gonna use this again because I'm like really nervous and scared. But anyways, we're gonna see what happens here. You know, I don't think I was expecting that. I really didn't think it was just gonna cut felt like that. Very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna do one more here. This is even more scary that my fingers are so close, but like, and here I am giggling because I'm like, whoa, mind blown. Like if you had like petal shapes that you wanted to kind of like trace and cut with this, like that might actually work here. Okay, so this is the 100% wool. That was the wool blend. And then we'll kind of just do the same thing. Ugh, see, this is the part I don't like, starting it. Okay, that one cut super, super smooth. And I'm just gonna go. So I would almost argue that this worked better on the 100% wool than it did on the wool blend, but woohoo, that was exciting, guys. I don't know, I'm just gonna try cardboard for the Okay, so that didn't go all the way through. I bet you if I put more pressure, but then I'm like, cardboard is cardboard and like X-Acto knives are X-Acto knives. Like it's kind of meant for that, but like, so that worked way better than I think that using like a cold X-Acto knife would. This is brand new. It does come with quite a few X-Acto knives, and because technically I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, like what is this magical witchcraft? This is kind of mind-blowing. I'm kind of curious now what else I can do with this. Stay tuned for that next video. That's all I have today. That was exciting. I'm excited. Hit me up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're not missing stuff. And love you guys. I'm gonna go play with my new tool.